One quiet day, a woman was relaxing inside her duplex, watching television, when everything suddenly changed. Without warning, two men burst into her home. She screamed as they grabbed her. One of the men was armed. They tied her up using Christmas lights, restraining her completely. Then the armed man placed the gun against the back of her head and pulled the trigger. After killing her, the men took her phone and fled the scene. A third accomplice was waiting outside in a getaway car, and the group sped away. The woman's name was Egypt. Egypt was well known and deeply loved in her community. She was a talented singer, admired by many, and had no known enemies. News of her murder sent shockwaves through the town. No one could understand why anyone would want her dead. Police immediately began investigating. As they dug into her personal life, one name stood out: her ex-boyfriend, Kenny. Investigators considered him a person of interest, but months passed without enough solid evidence to make an arrest. With no clear leads, the case eventually went cold. Years passed. Egypt's brother, Dwayne, was devastated by his sister's death and the lack of justice. One day he met a woman named Lindsay, and the two quickly formed a strong connection and began dating. At some point, Lindsay noticed Dwayne's phone lock screen, a photo of a woman she didn't recognize. When she asked about it, Dwayne told her it was his sister, Egypt. He shared the painful story of her murder and explained that the case was still unsolved. He also mentioned that police suspected Egypt's ex-boyfriend but had never been able to prove anything. Lindsay cared deeply for Dwayne and decided she wanted to help. She took matters into her own hands. Lindsay created a Facebook group dedicated to gathering tips and information about Egypt's death. People began sending messages, sharing rumors, details, and memories. Lindsay carefully pieced everything together. She didn't stop there. Lindsay and Dwayne drove around town, speaking directly to people who knew Egypt. She asked difficult questions, conducted interviews, and started connecting dots that others had overlooked. The more she investigated, the clearer it became that the evidence against Kenny was mostly circumstantial, and possibly misleading. Lindsay and Dwayne handed everything they collected over to local police. But progress was slow. Frustrated by the lack of action, they decided to push for state police to take over the case, believing they had more resources. They filed formal requests and waited. When nothing happened, they organized a protest march to pressure authorities. Thousands of people showed up in support. Finally, it worked. The case was officially transferred to state police. State investigators re-examined everything from the beginning. They focused on a critical detail from the night Egypt was murdered. Her attackers had stolen her cell phone before discarding it later. Using advanced resources, state police obtained warrants to analyze phone tracking data. They traced Egypt's phone and identified other phones that had been near it at the time of the crime, phones that belonged to the attackers. 3 months later, the breakthrough came. State police arrested 3 men connected to Egypt's murder. After years of silence, the truth finally caught up with them. Her voice filled the night, but fear was already watching.